Hey guys, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. We are the Mile High Property Brothers. Today, getting into it, we're going to be talking about if rates are dropping and why 2024 could still be a great time to buy here in Colorado.
That's right. We're going to dive right into it, guys, because we are over halfway through the year.
Correct.
And what better time to review where we've been so far in terms of the real estate market as it pertains to buying and selling in Colorado, and then what they're forecasting for the future, because there's some good stuff on the horizon.
Correct. And this has been a hot topic. A lot of folks already know that rates are starting to drop. Some of them have already dropped, and they're going to continue to drop throughout the end of the year 2024. Some are saying as low as 6.
Yeah.
Which is great, and we're not even getting into buy downs or what sellers are going to be open to doing for you guys when you are buyers.
So before we dive into a lot of the projected numbers, let's recap what the year has been like so far if you're buying and selling in Colorado.
Yeah, past 18 months.
Yeah. So with our interest rates that have been elevated the past couple of years, which you guys definitely know, a lot of people thought that home prices were going to drop. Matter of fact, we've seen the opposite happen. A lot of places have either flatlined, so there's been no growth, no loss, or there has been growth up to about 4%, depending on the areas. And this really, guys, goes to show how strong Colorado's market is, how strong our economy is, and how people are still interested in moving to and living in Colorado. And if you own a home in Colorado already, you see people, man, they're not leaving the state like they are in a lot of places.
Correct. Some are. Most of them aren't. But here's the deal as well. Like, people love living in Colorado, so when interest rates were a little bit higher, some folks just put a pause on, well, hey, let's just maybe not necessarily move right now until like the interest rate starts to cool down a little bit. The other reality is people just need to move. So whether it's kids going to college and you need to downsize as far as like your size of home, job changes, lifestyle changes, whatever it may be, people still forget this need to buy. People need to sell, people need to buy, and that's why you still see some consistent market changes as well as far as buyers and sellers. But what's great about the Colorado economy is we've had increases in home value, which is great. Even as these rates start to drop, folks still have a ton of equity in their home when they've bought it in the past couple of years, especially if you've had your home for 3 years or longer and you haven't done a crazy amount of refis or anything like that. You still have a ton of equity on that home, which means even though rates are dropping, something that's really cool for buyers is sellers are still open to concessions toward a 2-1 buy down or just a traditional rate buy down. So if you guys are getting as low as 6 or maybe even in the high 5s and you're getting a buy down on top of that, you guys could potentially see 4s when you guys are purchasing. And we've had those happen with clients. So these are things that are possible. Obviously, it's circumstantial to sellers and their personal situation, what they're willing to do based off of the offer that you have and the timing and circumstances that they have. But it's more than possible and more than common. It all comes from sellers still having a ton of equity in their home. When you don't have equity, no matter how much they want to help you become a buyer so you guys can buy their home, there's only so much that they can do. But largely across Colorado, you see a ton of equity in homes, which means you're still able to help these buyers, which means in addition to great rates, you can get more competitive with it and get even a better rate.
That's right. Now, forecasting for the future, don't just take our word for it. I want to reference a few of the just top real estate data providers that are out there and tell you guys exactly what they're forecasting by end of year 2024.
All right, guys, before we get into the next point, we do want to remind you that we are licensed brokers here in the state of Colorado. And just as much as we love making these videos, we would love more to help you with those real estate needs. That number that's popping up below. We are the guys who answer the phone calls, text messages, and those emails. So if we can help you, we would love to. That being said, let's get back into these next points.
So starting off, we've got the Mortgage Bankers Association. They are predicting 6.1% by the end of the year. Moving along, we've got Fannie Mae, which is predicting 5.8%. And we've got Realtor.com predicting 6.5%. And then finally, Redfin.com, one of my favorite real estate data providers, they're predicting 6.6. So overall, you're looking at about an average prediction of about 6.25. Now, this is not including FHA and VA loans.
A lot of those are even better.
Yes.
Especially if you guys are VA. I'm VA. It's the best loan around. You're going to get a best rate. But again, when you guys are getting competitive with sellers, when you guys are looking at concessions from a seller and buy downs, if you guys want to contribute some of your own money instead of like putting a bigger down payment on a home, if you guys want to take some of those funds and buy down the rate, there's a lot of creative things that you guys can do. But most importantly, the one point that I want to get to you guys as far as like just my opinion on what you guys should be looking for is why is 2024 still a great time to buy? Because they're also predicting that into next year, rates are going to continue to go down a little bit as well. So they're going to continue to come down all the way to the 3s. Some people say yes, some people say no. Obviously, time will tell. Here's what we will say. As they continue to trickle down, it will increase a large amount of buyers getting back into the market. So there's this sweet spot that everybody tries to hit. And that's when rates come down, but you haven't seen a huge flex of buyers coming coming out,
Yep.
which means it hasn't increased home prices yet.
Yep.
As rates continue to come down, as you guys start getting further and further into next year, you're going to see a lot more buyers coming out, which creates more competition amongst buyers, which gets people offering more money on homes, which then increases the demand on home prices. And then you guys get into, yep, rates are down, but now we're just spending more on the home and potentially an appraisal gap and things like that. No matter what, people, when they need to move, they need to move. That being said, if there is some options for you guys, or if you are looking at this year or early next year, why could that be a great sweet spot for exactly what we're talking about right now? Being able to get a great low rate, maybe get it even bought down a little bit further, but still not have such a busy buyer market where you're running out of options and you're buying the home you have to buy versus buying the home you want to buy because competition isn't necessarily significantly high like it's trending that it will into later of next year.
It's true. And just to help, put this into real numbers for you guys in terms of what this percentage difference means, because if it's your first time buying a home and you haven't looked at a mortgage statement and seen really how these impact your payment, basically if we're at 7.25 right now on, let's say, an $800,000 home and it goes down to 6.25 by the end of the year, you're going to be paying on average about $500-ish less per month for that home at the 6.25 versus the 7.25.
Yeah, and depending on how it's structured, it could be even more. If you guys are spending a little bit more, if you guys are getting closer to like that 1.2 range, the difference between 5.5 and a low 7 could be as much as almost $2,000, right? So definitely important, definitely timing matters. Obviously, if you guys buy this year, early next year, and then the rates continue to drop, well, you've already got the home that you have. You can always refinance into a lower interest rate as those continue to drop and some different creative things. But the bottom line is just making sure that you guys have your heads on straight and you're focused and you're dialed in and you're turning every stone and you're seeing what's possible versus just a lot of this is just, it's not vague. These are all predictions. Hey, great. But more specifically, what area are you guys looking at? The timeline that you're looking at, the specific homes that you guys start looking at, and then circumstantial, what are those sellers looking for? What are you as buyers able to contribute? And how well can we formulate that deal, making sure that's the best deal for you guys and for your new home here in Colorado.
Now, if you guys are even considering buying this year or even next year, we've got some tips for you guys just in terms of navigating higher interest rates, lower interest rates, and just kind of strategizing that a little bit, okay? So one of the first tips we have for you is, when it comes to buying, it is so important to look at your personal reasons behind buying, right? When you're buying a home, it is a personal thing, right? If you're just buying a straight investment property where it literally is just numbers on a spreadsheet, that's different. But when you've got a job that's bringing you to Colorado or a family that's growing in size, or maybe you're downsizing, like there are these personal reasons for buying. And with that, you're just not always going to time the market perfectly, right? So the idea is that, man, you come in when the time is right for you, you make the best out of the situation that you have, and then make sure that you've got people in your corner who know how to navigate these tools. 100%. Like, Will's mentioned a 2-1 buy down and all this. And maybe you're asking yourself, what the heck is even that, right? And these are all very important things for you to consider because you could save yourself literally tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of dollars every month on a payment by utilizing the right tools.
100%. Like, just to give you guys an example, when we got pregnant with our third kid, rates were at 7.5, 7.4, somewhere in there. And I'm a VA and it was still super high. And this was just a couple years ago when the rates had just started really climbing. Was it the best time to move as far as like when we like to move? Like, maybe there could have been a little bit better time, but we were pregnant with our third kid and we wanted to get closer to in-laws, back closer to in-laws because they're a big part of our family and them to be able to contribute and help us out is huge. And being in Castle Rock, we were 45 minutes away. It was okay with our older kids, but with the newborn coming, it just wasn't. And we were on the clock. We had 6 months before baby was here and we had to make a move. So the rates where they're at, but we were able to negotiate $25,000 in concessions from the seller at the house we're at now. And it bought that rate down 2 full points. And guess what? It's going to go even lower than that. And I'm just going to refi. So as these rates continue to drop toward the end of this year, I'm already looking out with our preferred lender, Scott Leffert. A lot of you guys know him. I'm already in communications with him because the timing of that refi is going to be super important and it's also going to be possible. So I was able to get the rate super low by 2 full points before we moved in, which definitely mitigated a lot of that cost. And now that it's starting to shoot back up because it's been 2 years, hey, not a huge problem, but guess what? Refis are coming. And there'll be a possibility to just refi, which means I never really got hit at all with a 7.4 or 7.2% interest rate, even though I was buying in that market. Well, first and foremost, we got the home that we wanted. It's an amazing corner lot. It's right here by the water. It's super close to in-laws. We got the house that we wanted. And because of the structure and how we purchased the home, and then now the potential with these refis, that interest rate that everybody was so afraid of, I'm never actually going to get smacked with it, right? So there are some things to do even when interest rates are a little bit higher. It's really just about the personal structure of your guys' deal and how well we negotiate.
That's right. And coming back to timing the market a little bit, never try and time the market to where like, man, I think interest rates are still going to drop and they're still going to drop, because the tools that we're mentioning right now aren't going to work when there's more competition. You know, that scenario that Will just gave you worked out perfectly because buyers were taking a little bit slower to make decisions. He was able to find this home that was on the market, great sellers. They offered all this thing. There weren't as many buyers. Had he tried to wait for the lower interest rate, not only would he not be able to use those tools, but this home wouldn't be available because people had already offered over asking price on it.
Correct. Now, if you offer over asking price and as long as it appraises, it's not any more money out of your pocket anyway. So there are some pluses when it comes to, hey, when interest rates are low, could it still be a better time to buy, or do we need to buy when it's high interest rate? Not at all. There's pros and cons to both.
Yes. Yep.
You need to buy when it's the right time for you, and don't necessarily overanalyze the market per se or overanalyze vague blanket statements. What we need to do is analyze specific circumstances to you and how well we can negotiate on a specific home in a specific area for you guys. But it's going to come down to, the bottom line is families, professionals, like whoever you are, it comes down to more so we need to move, we need to sell, we need to buy, and it's about navigating and using whatever tools and resources we have during those times and being most efficient for you guys.
That's right. And the last point here is we always encourage people to prepare before you need to prepare. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're even thinking about buying within the next 2 years, call the number, have a Zoom call with us. Let's take 30 minutes and we can make an introduction to our lender. What I always love is, hey, get our ducks in a row so that we can make the decision when the time is right, versus waiting until you feel the time is right and then trying to get everything in a row and then you find out, oh, we need to repair this thing on our credit. When I was trying to buy my first home, I had a car that I had paid off 3 months before, still reporting on my credit. And it took 90 days for me to talk to the dealer and the state, get these things with titles before that thing was removed from my credit. And if I was trying to buy a home that month, I'd be out of luck.
The thing that was hard. Eli was also in a rock band. I don't even know how. I think he was getting paid with beer and peanuts.
Pretty much.
Showing up.
Like qualifying with that.
You can't show up with that, but what you can show up is with us.
That's right.
And our reminder with this number popping up below that yes, we are licensed brokers here in the state of Colorado, and yes, just as much as we love making these videos, we would love more to help you with those real estate needs. So that number that's still there. We are the guys for answer the phone calls, text messages, and those emails. So if we can help you, we would love to. But that being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys very soon.
See you guys.